Joe Daluz. Born in Fall River, and 6 weeks on Cape Cod, so I would say originally Cape Cod. All my young growing up days, my adolescent days with my brothers and sisters, of which we were 6 here on Cape Cod, so yeah. Right in Centerville. Oh, it was interesting. We had, back there growing up, we had no electricity. We lived across on Old Stage Road across from the cemetery. We lived back there growing up, and used to, we had our own, we was subsidized by our own sweat. We had animals, we had cows, we had pigs, we had chickens, and a great big farm that one thing we didn't like about the farm was the weeding. The food was good, but we had to weed it. So, and we had chopped wood and for fuel. So that's what it was like back there. But there were 6 of us, and Mom and Dad, but we were a family, we were close. And we didn't have individual bedrooms like they have today. So that made us grow up real close. That was an interesting time. Oh, I guess it's people. It seems back then if you need a helping hand, somebody was always there to help you in one form or another. My father was great for that, and I guess we learned a lot from him. If you needed help, he was there. You name it. As a matter of fact, he used to be the local butcher, and he would go around and slaughter pigs and cows during the season, during the off season for the food for the families that needed. So he was a provider. He was quite a man. 6'2", tall, strong. Yep. He grew up we lived in Centerville, and he worked over in Centerville over on what is now the Conference Center. And he worked there for the Groves family for a good many years. And one of the memories there is when I made my confirmation, I had my picture taken there, and I have that home. And I used to work there and help them on after school and on weekends. And then I guess the proud moment, I guess back then, I used to get my own paycheck. It was a little small envelope, and it was sealed. And Mrs. Grove gave me my paycheck, and guess what was in it? How much money was in it? $1. That was way, way back then, but it taught me that you had to work, and that's how my father raised us. You worked, and this is compensated for what you do, and that's what I did back then. Well, it's a story that I'm not very proud of. It's when I got out of school, I had an opportunity. I had my certificates with me, diplomas, and try to get a job. Remember, this was in the 50s, and segregation was at its best. And I remember going to DuPont with my portfolio, and the guard at the door wouldn't let me in. And it says, "You're not coming in, and anybody that looks like you're not coming in." So that ended that. And so it was a very, very difficult time back then. So, by the way, I was in the Army, and the treatment there wasn't very good either. And as a matter of fact, I can recall in Petersburg, Virginia, of course it gets pretty hot in the summertime, and we were permitted 1 day a week, which was a Tuesday, to go to the beach. And that was it. So those 50s and 60s were very, very difficult times. And so I decided that I wasn't going to raise my children in the South under those circumstances, so we decided that we'd come back home to New England. As a matter of fact, when I was in college, I was the president of the NAACP back, I think it was 1949, and Lewis Redding, who was worked with the Supreme Court judge, Supreme Court marshal in the civil rights era, and he was my mentor, and I was the president, and I used to go to Wilmington to the meetings there. So I was inspired by what they were trying to do, knowing that we had some very difficult times and circumstances and incidents that happened. So being a man of color, yeah, I had to be inspired to try to do better, to make sure that would be better, particularly for my kids and young people growing up. So that inspired me, and I've been involved ever since. Yeah, that's always been my philosophy. If you want to get something done, the, the, the- if I have some kind of a confrontation with you, it goes back and forth, nothing gets accomplished. So therefore, my philosophy was, which I learned way back in the early days, was that you're trying to sit down and trying to iron out the differences, and it makes people understand exactly what has taken place and what needed to be done to make life easier for everyone else. Hate does not cure anything, so that was never in my blood to hate anybody. But also, like I said, like you mentioned, to get things done without a whole lot of publicity back then. And one of my mentors also was Emerson Mosley. Emerson Mosley was in the labor movement, and ironically, he was the representative for the sugar industry in South Boston way back then. And so he knew exactly what took place. So I would meet with him quite often. He was my mentor, as well as Mrs. Mosley. She was involved. Lloyd Randolph, who ended up being the affirmative action officer for the town of Barnstable, was involved, and his wife was involved. And so there were some people that helped me along the way. I didn't do it by myself, and I get inspiration and help from a lot of people like that. So. She was the inspiration of the NAACP and black people on Cape Cod, and people in general, as you remember, as you would hear at the hearings. She was known as the Rosa Parks of Cape Cod, and she would take, if it wasn't correct, if you were making a statement or doing something, if it wasn't correct, you would hear from it, even if it was the Pope. If it was, she thought it was wrong, she was going to let you know it was wrong. As you can recall, doing even the meetings, town meetings, she was asked to sit down several times, and the response is, "I'll sit down when I finish," and that's exactly what she did. But she did an awful lot for Cape Cod, for a lot of people of color. Not only in Cape Cod, because I used to go to the national convention. She was known all over the country. And matter of fact, when in the convention, she was sergeant of arms to make sure that people come in late to collect their quarters or 50 cents, whatever it was, to help the youth. But she was very, very inspirational to a lot of people on Cape Cod. John is a talented young man. He came from UMass, and he's known all over. He's involved, and matter of fact, I think he was involved with the NEA, the New England Educational Organization, and he's still involved. And brilliant young man, and he and Karen. So I guess he has the opportunity to travel all around, which he does. I mean, he's everywhere, and he's involved with the Boston chapter, the New England Area Conference, NAACP, which takes in all of New England. He's involved in that. He's very involved. He does a lot. He does a lot. I think that one of the challenges I think that I find, and I find that during my administration, working in the town, I find that and I hear this a lot, which is very disturbing, is that the town really isn't promoting business, and that part kind of disturbs me. I was involved, and we had an opportunity to have some nice programs by others in the industry to help promote better business in Barnstable, but that was rejected, as I said in some of the meetings. But I think one of the challenges is to develop more business in the town, make it more appealing for people to start a business in Barnstable and be involved. And I still hear that today, but we need to change that. I think we need to change that. It was busy. It was busy, and back then we were understaffed, but we got a lot done. I don't know how many. I think during my administration, over 2,000 permits, I believe it was, that we gave out, 2,100 or something like that, but it's in the town report. It was very interesting back in those days. It was more interesting, not only in the challenge of the building department in terms of permits and control, but I had a few circumstances where they would call a meeting And I'd go down to the conference room, and there was a group there. By the way, there were a group of ladies, and I didn't know what they wanted to be there for, but they had complaints, and trying to figure out what the complaints were. But what it ended up was the ladies there saying that you should not have that job. I said, oh. And she said, well, you just shouldn't have that job. I says, okay, well, thank you very much. Unfortunately for you, but fortunately for me that I have. So it wasn't always peaches and creams. I've had my challenges. And I got to give credit to my secretary, Jenny Robbins. Jenny Robbins did more than I can explain. She could sense it. She knew exactly what they were driving at, what they were going. And she didn't hesitate to tell them what day it was, what time of day it was, and what time to leave. I mean, she's done very nice, but she made it easier for me. She really did so. Centerville, particularly the Crakeville Beach. And you know, at the end of the day, you can go out to Crakeville Beach and you can either walk the beach or park your automobile and look out in there, and very, very comforting. That, as well as the waterfront. But the Crakeville Beach area, because it's so vast, the ocean out there, and you could look out there into space, sky, and the water coming together, so you can really get your thoughts together. It's one of my favorite spaces. Anything I'd like to see change. One of the things I think I'd like to see change is more effort to keep our young people here. We deal with this all the time, and what is their future? What is their future on Cape Cod? The community college is doing a great service to this town and county to promote these youngsters and educate these youngsters in different fields. We need employment to keep. If these youngsters are going to school to learn some of these educational opportunities that are offered somewhere else, is not offered here, they're going to have to leave because they can't afford it here. The housing prices are extremely high. They can't afford that. And so therefore they have no alternative. So what you do, you raise your children, you meet with young people, and you say, go to school. And if you don't have the income to go further to college off Cape, take advantage of the beautiful Cape Cod Community College. And then after 2 years, you can go and find a job. But you need to start somewhere. And it's a great start right here at home. And so I think the employment opportunities are limited on Cape Cod, and that limits the number of young people who stay here. My children, if they've gone to school and they've graduated from college, all but one, but they've all went to school, college, and except Jeffrey. What we try to get them to do the same thing, but to get a start, to get a start in service of some kind. For some reason, it seems to be very difficult for them. They go and they come back, all because of the affordability, no matter where you go. And if your parents don't have deep pockets to help you along the way, it's expensive to live off Cape, so also. But that's the future, and the future is our young people, and we have to do more to keep our young people here if the Cape is going to grow the way we like it to go. Joe Daluz, Hyannis, proud to be from Hyannis, Cape Cod. Great place. And if you have children, great place to raise your children. Thank you.